We loaded up iTunes and flick through the 100 or at that point 99 episodes to kind of see what we could find. I believe Robbie remarked we have an episode called Drug Dealers and what did you say, JV Partners?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's about Chicago, and that's from where.
First, seconds, performing, non-performing? What the f***? Note buyers, when it seems like you're in this business alone, know Chase, Robert, and the rest of their tribe are at it every week. They're bringing updates from their own note businesses as they work to find, fund, and finish deals. Follow along as they share their grassroots education with you, tuition free. If you'd like to know more about what they do and to download the entire back catalog, check out NoteMBA.com. Now, here are your hosts, Chase Thompson and Robert Woods.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Note MBA podcast, your home for note investing on iTunes. I am Chase Thompson, joined as always by Robert Woods. Mr. Woods, what is up?
I had a great morning, man.
Solid.
Long morning. I met up for some coffee, which turned into breakfast and a little stroll, and just a nice, relaxing day. Weather in Florida's been good. I've got a clear head this week.
Ooh, that probably means a lot is getting done.
A lot is getting done.
I love it.
It's getting to the point I felt the need to make a customized filing system. So I'm building my own file holders, from Home Depot.
Yeah.
Completely unrealistic from does this make a time value of money sense? But from creating my own project and satisfaction of hand making something, I'm pretty ecstatic about what I'm creating this week.
Oh man, getting down in. So you said Home Depot. So you're legit making the cabinet, or do you mean
I'm bootlegging it. It's
okay.
a pseudo. It's organization meets home improvement and some strategic design that you can't. I needed a custom filing system.
I like it. You needed a custom. I dig it. So real quick, before we get too much further, I love that. I would love to hear more about that. Maybe share some photos on the Instagrams or the Facebooks. Would love to see that. For those that are just joining us, this is episode 100. Woo!
The centennial.
I'm going to pop some streamers on my side. There's confetti everywhere. Rest assured.
I got a bottle of champagne in the fridge. Maybe I should open that up.
I'll just throw in a pop bottle sound effect and be like, oh, we're popping bottles. This is great. Really quickly, episode 100. I'm very excited about today's episode. There are so many different things I wanted to talk about with regards to today's episode. There's so many different places we could go. Literally, if you have been listening either from the start or if you have joined us in the interim and have listened to a bunch of the replays or gone back and listened to kind of the archives, this show has literally spanned, for those that don't know, we'll call them team editions, two births in my family, which I think is totally amazing and ridiculous and is incredible that I've been able to share those types of things with the community at large, which which is why when we talk about you guys being family, it is legitimately that. So basically what we have done. Oh, it looks like Mr. Woods looks like he's ready to go.
Hold on, let's see if I can not break a light in my house.
Oh!
There we go. I probably spiked a little bit.
That was not a sound effect.
You legit a little bit of bubbles.
Oh, there it is. A little
Sometimes
bubble.
You just got to celebrate. I should probably have maybe 3 or 4 glasses of celebration today, though.
Yeah, totally. So what we've decided to do is kind of go back through what is essentially the archives ourselves. We loaded up by going to NoteMBA.com, our own website. We went to the blog section. There's pages and pages and pages of content. We loaded up iTunes and flick through the 100 or at that point 99 episodes to kind of see what we could find. I believe Robbie remarked we have an episode called Drug Dealers and what did you say, JV Partners?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's about Chicago, and that's from where that was the one about Chicago. But I was looking at it, and I was like, "Damn, we really named a show Drug Dealers and JV Partners." That could come off the wrong way into Google searching.
It totally could. So we went back through. We realized that we really have produced a ton of stuff. But what I found, and what I wanted to talk about today a little bit was kind of the overarching things that have been really pivotal in my business, kind of transitioning into doing real estate investing. And to be perfectly honest with you, this is a ton of stuff I have learned from those 5 people you surround yourself with, from those 5 books you last read type gig. And so the first episode I wanted to highlight, and all of the show links for any episodes we talk about will be in the show notes over at notemba.com. So be sure to go check it out if you want to get any of the references we're talking about. But the first show I wanted to highlight was actually an episode titled, We're Not Gurus, Nor Do We Play Ones on This Podcast. So we're not gurus, nor do we play ones on this podcast. So where do I go with that, Mr. Woods?
Well, I mean, you tell me. I think you took some notes, but I think the biggest thing when I was talking this morning about the podcast, somebody would ask me about it, and like, you have a podcast? I was like, yeah, we just talked about it. And I was like, we really got started with it because we wanted people to realize, like, there are people that do an amazing job at educating, whether it's Scott or Eddie or Gordon or any of the other people that we come in contact with. Tons of people do great education. But even though they do great education, I think there's from times that people that are new to real estate can go, what in the world is this? Or how'd those numbers get there? And they don't get enough time in their 3-day weekend. They don't get enough time in that week class or that online course to really realize like how they're going to screw stuff up.
So listen to us on a weekly basis of the Note MBA podcast. Yes. So that is literally the reason why I highlighted this episode. It was just a really great place for us to start. I think it was when we first got started, a bunch of people thought that this was going to parlay into some sort of, type guru bit. But really, it's just us, right? Talking about our business, connecting with the community, and just growing, right? Like it hasn't ever been much more than that. And so it just really hit home with me with where I planned on starting this and why I originally wanted to do a show. And then I got hooked up with you, and it really just has, it was just a great encapsulation of what this is and what it's kind of grown into. So I really loved that particular show in general. And of course, just kind of kicking us off with that as like the throwback episode reference for an episode 100 kind of like best of type gig.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that was good. And then you were rolling into, we started interviews with episode 8.
We did. So this particular episode, I wanted to highlight, again, episode 8, links in the show notes. This was actually an interview with Joel Markovitz. This is when he used to actually be with Landhome. He is not any longer. It's still a great show about servicing and those types of things. But the real reason why I wanted to highlight it is this was the week when this episode came out that we were actually featured on the front page of iTunes. So if you went to the iTunes store and you were going to go, what podcasts are out or what new podcasts are showing or anything like that, we were right there, front and center. And that was massively due to the fact that we were number 1 in business, in education, and in technology that week, which is crazy to think about now, like how amazing that is, and how incredible the community was then and is now to be able to be in that position. So definitely go check out that episode. It's great, all about servicing. But it was more specifically really great to kind of look back at like, holy crap, we were able to do that. Like the support from the community at the time was incredible that we were able to get there. So that was amazing. Yeah,
it was definitely good. So where did I want to go from here? Oh, I wanted to segue. We're going to go in show order kind of, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, for sure. Go for it.
So I think episode 18 is a good one to talk about, which was NoteLink. And it's good for a couple reasons. One, if you know me now or if you try to get to the website, NoteLink no longer exists. NoteLink was this great idea that I had, in my opinion. I think the market supported it.
We still get emails about it today. Like literally today, people will still email us and say, hey, what's up with NoteLink? It looks like it's down. What's going on? So
I think NoteLink is a good thing to talk about, like I was saying, in the sense of it brought out a forefront issue in the market that we were experiencing, that we weren't getting quality inventory. And the people that we were buying from were holding up stuff because they were brokering it. Servicing wasn't getting transferred. Documents weren't there. The time that you were wasted back and forth, or maybe you put in an offer and then it wasn't accepted. So the concept was great. The struggle came in 2 real big parts. Operational execution, which was something I just didn't go and create the systems I needed to create to streamline it. The biggest thing, though, I realized is that I didn't have enough capital to control the inventory. And I realize now if I'd had an extra $1 million or a line or something, and we can always make the excuses, but I didn't pursue it. I'm still kind of kicking myself a little bit for it, but it's also one of those things. It's now my kind of new attitude about I had that big goal of reading all those books and realizing partway through, if this is not something that you want to do or it's not continuing to bring you equitable value, just stop doing it.
Sure.
Thankfully, it was all my money that was in it, so it's not like I had an investor behind me that funded the startup. I could have a nice Lexus in the driveway instead of my Buick, but we both know I would have never gotten a Lexus anyway. So
yeah. You would have just parlayed that into some trip to like Ecuador or something, so it would have worked out well. So I agree. Like I said, we still get those emails today about it. It's clearly something that was seen in the market then, and something that, you know, some people are obviously still struggling with now, which is what it is. And, you know, you mentioned something at the start of this before we hit record, so I don't want to step on any toes, but my next episode is going to be episode 47. Is there somewhere else you wanted to go before that, though?
No, 47 sounds good. I might have to bring us back somewhere because that's just what we do. Yeah,
no. Because I think I know what episode you're bringing up. So I was going to wait a minute, let you bring it up if you had it at the ready.
Which one?
Bandages?
The bandages one. That's that was like episode 2, right? Where I went into
episode 2. Yeah.
We didn't make it long, and Chase thought he was going to lose his business partner on this little venture. That was a good one about like getting up and keep going. You guys are going to lose money. I've got a deal right now. We're just trying to get closed on Wednesday. I know we're going to lose money on it, but we're not going to lose that much. And relative to how much money we make on the other deals, it's just anything like life. It's like dating somebody, the good with the bad.
Yeah, and I believe that episode was titled "Staying Out of the Ditch." Staying out of the ditches, something like that.
Yeah, stay out of the ditch.
Stay out of the ditch. There were some photos that went along with that, in case you're wondering what bandages means. So from there, I want to move into episode 47. This one is titled "House Hunting in the Mountains to Beachside on the Pacific." So this was a really cool episode because it was I don't know. I don't remember if it was recorded or it was talked about where Robbie's down in Costa Rica, but basically he was up in the mountains in the hills of Costa Rica. He was, obviously there for obviously business and pleasure at the same time, because so often we talk about, being omnipresent within your business, but it was also took us all the way back to the beginning with the origination of this show about basically saying one guy's in Texas, he's got his family, he's doing his bit, he's, that typical everyman. And then we've got the other guy who's doing the lifestyle design, who's doing the travel, who's doing different things, kind of touring the globe, as it were. And this was one of those quintessential shows that really gave that feel and gave that understanding of how you can continue to do that while still operating your business stateside, while still doing the things that you need to do, and heck, even do some potential investing while you're out and about and doing these potential things, which was just a really cool opportunity for us to take in a microcosm of an episode, really explain the entirety of what this show's been based around, which I thought was really, really cool. And it just gave a really great general feel to that I thought was pretty awesome.
Well, I was on vacation. But the other part of that vacation, do you remember what happened while I was on vacation? The fire at the condo in Atlanta.
What is that? That episode's titled Putting Out Fires in Georgia?
Yeah, but that's it caught on fire episode 47. Guess who has a rental property in Atlanta that's still vacant?
No.
Yeah. We're suing the HOA.
Oh.
What a fun process.
Oh my gosh. But, is it weird to go back and like look at this? It's just like looking at like an old yearbook and going like, oh man, I can't believe I used to date her, or I used to be best friends with this guy, or that teacher was incredible. Like,
I can't believe I still have it. Like, why did I not just sell it? It's one of those things. Like, we hate to get rid of stuff that we have. And I'm just looking at this. It's kind of funny now that you said that, like cleaning out the house or getting rid of clothes that you don't wear anymore. I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, why am I still spending money on this thing? And part of it is because it's actually been very interesting and educational. to start a lawsuit against a property management company and an HOA.
Oh,
so we'll see what happens. I mean, it'll make for a great show when we get some traction on it. But it's just one of those other things behind the scenes. And I realize I've got close to $20,000 in that note now with the legal fees, just sitting there, making no return, doing nothing.
And we'll be able to harken back to episode 47 and Atlanta's on Fire episode and other things like that to be able to reference that whenever that time comes up. So I think that's fantastic. Though obviously wasted time and money, not super great. And there's actually some really awesome photos that go along with that if you do happen to head over to NoteMBA.com and check out the show notes there. Just some killer photos of the mountains and stuff like that Robbie took while he was out there and one of the properties and stuff he was looking at. It was pretty killer for those that might be in other parts of the country and the woes of running their business from there. You see palm trees and pools. You can do it too. It's just a really great, empowering episode, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You know, I would make a quick jump from there only because I'm laughing about it now. Episode 42, which I believe is, again, me backtracking just one episode or a handful, titled Evicting in Chicago is Still Not Fun.
Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it still isn't fun.
It hasn't changed. It's still
60
going
episodes later. Oh
man. We my contractor at the building is talking to me yesterday about what's going on and where we're at with stuff. And he's like, yeah, just so you know, like, it's not an issue, but the new tenants are still not cool with this one dude they still haven't evicted. We got this one guy that the sheriff, I need to be the sheriff in Cook County. If anybody can figure out how to get me elected sheriff in Cook County, I don't think I can vote that far left to just sit there and be. Anyway, we should probably hold that.
I love it. The next episode I want to jump to is episode 65. This one is entitled "The Power of No." It's got a really interesting piece. It's its own separate article. Is the show notes for that particular episode? They don't actually reference what we talked about in that episode. It's fascinating. It's very, very cool. Highly recommend you guys go check that out. In that episode, we talked about this time that Robbie got humbled at lunch. And we talk about why having 2 ears and 1 mouth is important. We battled through bad audio. But the big thing I wanted to talk about with this episode was the power of no, right? Obviously, the title of the show. But as we work just in any facet of our lives, as we do anything with regards to our lives, you're going to have those detours you can take. You're going to have the opportunity to go do this or go do that, or this is an amazing opportunity, or whatever the case may be. And it's important to take a step back, check this potential amazing opportunity against your goals, against where you want to be, against where you are, against all of these different things before you step forward and go, yeah, I definitely want to do that. Because the second you start doing that, you start dividing up your time and dividing up your ability to do the things that are actually going to be in alignment and with congruence with where you want to head in your life, you're going to find yourself in a tough spot. So the idea that the power of no, we talk about on the show, we've got the notes, we've got a spec builder, we've got this or we've got that. But, Robbie's brought on 2 people to be able to help facilitate these different things. We've got outsourcing that's happening with VAs on different things. It's just take a step back sometimes. Every opportunity isn't the opportunity. We've got that right now during the recording of this show. The World Series is happening. Cleveland Indians, Chicago Cubs. Sometimes you got to let the ball just go across the plate. You got to just wait on the pitch, because if you don't, you can find yourself in a bad spot.
Dude, you know what I love? You got a quote on episode 63 on the picture that says, "You don't just accidentally show up in the World Series." A humble Derek Jeter quote.
A humble Derek Jeter quote. That's epic. I love that. Oh, episode 63. You just don't show up at the World Series. That's killer.
I love how we're doing this. I hope people appreciate this episode. It's unique. I'm scrolling through as we're looking at all this because we've talked about it, and we've got from 65. You're talking about just saying no, and then I've got managing investor expectations. Shit, part of that's telling people no. Winterizing. And then I got winterizing your property. I got an email from a JV who was like, "Did we winterize this?" I didn't know. Didn't think about it. You've got to what we learn from other people that we brought on too, which is kind of funny.
No, and that's an awesome time to kind of highlight, because the last episode I wanted to bring up isn't even an interview. We briefly touched on it talking about episode 8, but we've had some incredible interviews. Fuquan, Dave Van Horn, Eddie Speed, Joel Markovitz, Tyler Carter, Gabe Cass, Kimberly Banks Fawcett, other investors, Wayne Snell, Jay Tenenbaum.
Liz Broomer was on.
Liz Broomer, Jillian Sedati was on.
We're missing Paper Source.
Oh, Bill Mancaro was on. And then we also had one of the OG listeners of the show, Mr. Bob Malecki was on the show.
Bob's always got great emails. If you guys aren't on Bob's email list, actually, this is a perfect time, because I hope I get an email about this. We had a little slip up with some of our marketing. And we forgot to respond to a Facebook message that I just didn't even know existed. And we got told that the individual decided to invest with Jay. Actually, might as well just say it. He invested with Jay. And the way I read it, texts come off differently. The way I read it came off with this negative kind of connotation, like we were too late to the game. We should have been on our thing. Like, that's why we have these people on, though. You guys got to realize, like, everybody's doing this, but Jay's at the top of his game. Wayne and Natalie are doing great. Bob, though, has done some amazing things. He's provided us some amazing feedback. There's an episode I know where I said something. I was like, "That's for you, Bob," because it was just this great email that he'd written, and like, people didn't realize, like, we read the emails, we take action on it. But Bob, thank you for always supporting and listening there, and you're doing great things. Actually, I just saw. He just mass emailed out. Well, not mass emailed. Sorry. He just emailed out a reperformer that he's got in North Carolina. So that looked like a really good deal. He's still marketing, and I'm talking about it. So that's the other thing about the power of consistency you were talking about.
Yeah. And so the last thing I wanted to bring up, and then we'll kind of not necessarily close out the show, but just kind of talk about this as the collective motif, the collective overarching kind of theme that I've had over these 100 episodes, as it were now. But the last episode I wanted to bring up is episode 77. I didn't want to go too recent, but this one is titled Where It All Started with Note Investing and Note MBA. And the reason why it was titled that is because this was another recording that we did where Robbie was out in Chiang Mai. He was out in Thailand, where it all began, where we did our first episode recording. I was in San Antonio recording at the time. And this episode, to me, again, just has tons and tons of value in it. We talk about, obviously, where it all began and all that kind of stuff. We talk about an acquisition that we recently did in Illinois. We talk about some marketing strategies in there. And so it was definitely an upgraded episode from technically where it all started. But it was just a really humbling episode for me to basically take a step back. And by the way, episode 2, or episode 1, I should say, at the very end of episode 1, and I don't think I'll link this up necessarily in the show notes, but for anybody that remembers listening to this, I reference a podcast that I still listen to this day. So all the way back 100 episodes ago, where I reference his intro because it's so simplistic and so great. And I say, he's 400 and something episodes in. It's incredible that he's been able to do it this long and do it to such a high quality, right? And Robbie says, well, it'd be great to see what it's like for us when we're, I think he says 50, I think he might say 100 episodes in. And I say, whoa, projecting a little far in the future. And Robbie's like, of course I am, right?
That's what I jumped on you for.
Exactly.
I was like, dude, what are we doing? If you don't even think we can get to episode 50, why are we doing episode 1?
That is real talk. So what happened is that is literally at the end of episode 1. So for anybody that wants to, definitely go check it out. It's in like the last 4 minutes, I think. And the second I hit stop on the recorder, he's not kidding. He for real jumped on me in the best kind of way, just to be like, look, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, this is what this is for. And so again, this was just a really great reference point for me to jump on this idea of where it all started, what's been going on since, and all that kind of stuff. And for me, like I said, it gave me that overarching, motif of what this whole thing has been about. It goes back to, when I said episode 47 and 65 and 77, of this idea that the things I heard Elon Musk give an interview just recently, and he was talking about, somebody had asked him, how do you do what you do? For For those who don't know, he's founder of Tesla, SpaceX. Tesla, by the way, is incredible. SpaceX is also incredible. Solar City, also incredible. And these are just companies that are transforming the industries they are in. Fundamentally transforming the industries they're in. Any one of them would be incredible, but he has 3 of them in 3 different industries. And it's remarkable, right? So someone just said, how? Right? Like, how do you do that? And he referenced this idea. He said, this engineer, this physicist attitude that he has to solving problems. And he says, most people, when they want to do something, when they really want to do something, they think in analogy. They have analogous thoughts. They say, so-and-so did it like this, or I've seen it done like that. And they have this idea, this Me Too idea. And he says what's really been fundamental in the way that he has achieved what he's been able to achieve is that he uses, again, this engineer, this physicist mindset of going back to first principles. So in his business with Tesla, the electric car, people said that battery packs were too expensive. Or, he just went back to these fundamental first principles. And he just said, well, they're not. And he engineered the solution back to these first principles of what it was to solve this particular problem. And for us, we've done the same thing. I'm a huge fan of analogy, but I'm learning a ton from Elon Musk, right? Who's a great guy to learn from. And the first principles for this business, any business, whether you're, playing professional sports, killing it in business, really rocking it in your personal life. For me, and the overarching message for what our show has been for 100 episodes has been these 3 kind of core principles. And it's been this idea of consistency, omnipresence, and habits. And I think if you can control to the best of your ability those 3 things, bring it back, reel it into what that is, what that means for you. What does consistency mean for you? If you're working a day job and you've only got 2 hours a night, what are you consistently doing for those 2 hours? If you are out and about and traveling in Costa Rica, what does omnipresence mean for you? That you're out on the mountains and you're looking at plots of land for potentially getting investment properties. And when it comes to habits, we joked before we hit record that for me, and this is me just being me, because again, we talked about going through 2 births with the show, like how real I like to be with you guys. I struggle oftentimes with focus. I have pharmaceutical focus. I'm, it's a little bit harder to get diagnosed with ADD.
Me too, if the election goes the way it should.
Yeah, it's harder to get diagnosed with ADD nowadays, but I literally have that. And so I have to take this pharmaceutical focus, right? But for me, that really rounds out this idea of habits. For me, daily habits are the most powerful thing that you can institute in your life, period. Whether that be personal, business, whatever. So those to me have been those overarching first, bringing it back to first principles for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. So if you're really trying to make it in real estate investing, if this is your first time listening to the show, consistency, omnipresence, habits / because we've got 10 episodes about it, goals. As Robbie referenced when we were going through all the episodes together.
That's where I'm going next.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that to me was extremely important for episode 100. If this is your first time here, thank you. Focus on those things.
Oh, dude, that's so great. It's so true. So I was thinking about a couple things because I was looking about it, and it definitely comes back to you. I've been working with Michelle for a little over a year and a half, and I think as well as I can admit, I've seen some substantial changes and benefit and growth in my life by having her as a coach for life. Now that I tend to take us outside of real estate as often as I possibly can. In the unique way. It's because I get to play Monopoly. I told somebody that the other day, and I realized it. Like, I literally get to play my favorite childhood game every day.
That's a perfect reference. I love that.
Well, and I just can remember, everybody in my family would be like, why are we still playing this? This game has gone on for hours. And I'm ready to roll the dice. Like, here's where, getting ready to land on Park Place, and I know I own it. I don't have to pay a thing. It's a free night in the hotel room. So, but it's just unique. You've got that, and she's got a live event she's doing this weekend, and I'm missing. But we think about that. I think about the people that we surround ourselves with. Chase, you're obviously one of those. We've got a huge, great network of people that we're with, and it's funny. Chase and I are talking about habits. We go in and out of talking for hours and hours and hours together each week, and then maybe a week we don't talk, and then it's what's going on? There's a detachment, and you put. Having a good coach, whether it's a real estate coach or a life coach or whatever it is you're focusing on at the time, whether it's your dietitian, your the person that's going to take care of you at the gym and actually get you worked out, having people to motivate you and support what you're doing, and then coming with the mindset. So it was just our very, very, very recent episode of 96. I will bring up one of the most recent ones of The Strangest Secret with Earl Nightingale.
Oh.
And it gets me a first-class ticket into the woo-woo crowd. I will admit that. But I really can't emphasize enough the value that mindset plays in what we've done for 100 episodes. Well, we're still working, but I told Chase the cost of consistency is expensive, and people don't realize that. There's a sacrifice and a thing that goes on, but we get up and we do this every week because we want to. And my only weird turn from this is saying, we've had a great run of 100 episodes. We've talked about goals. We've gotten to talk about ourselves. And, one of my big goals for the next 100 episodes is to completely and drastically shift the weight of that focus back onto interviews, back onto people who are in the marketplace who can provide either experiences or benefits. And then you can hear about how great Chase and I are doing every other week instead of every week or whatever. Because I think, we love to talk about what we've got going on. And I love when I get to meet people that have listened to the podcast and, they're like, man, I feel like I know you. Like it's, Chase just had the baby. Like this is awesome. Milo's doing his thing.
Somebody actually emailed us while you were out in Spain. Said they heard about some explosion or some attack that happened, and they sent me a message, sent us an email, basically wondering if you were back stateside and safe. Like that's the community you guys have created around us, right? Like, that's I really can't wrap my mind around that. Like that's unbelievable that you would be watching the news or listening to like NPR or something and hear about something like this on Twitter and like hear about something like this, and the first or second thought, right, is, oh no, like Robbie's there, Chase is there, whatever. Is he okay? Is he involved? Like, is he checked in? Like, what's going on? Is just truly remarkable.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that goes to what we want to be developing. This is our podcast or whatever. It's kind of a funny way to say it, but we're doing it for everybody else to realize what's going on and realize, when there's a saying I always used to hear when I was growing up, and I've heard it time and time again, that and I'm going to use air quotes to say successful in air quotes, but the most successful people that are the most accessible.
Yeah.
And, there are times where if, somebody's not going to respond. There's plenty of people that don't respond to some of the requests that we put out there, but we want to go out there and bring the market to our listeners, because Chase and I can get together and talk every week. So we still so much can use and appreciate any extra support, emails, direction, things that you want us to go research. I was just this weekend, I ran into Marlene Green, and she gave me a list of things that she would love us to go do some research on and bring to the show.
Marlene is so great. I hope she listens to this episode. She's so great.
She's amazing. Oh, and I remember too, we interviewed Gene Chandler. I totally forgot about that because Gene was he's driving back and forth and doing everything. See, we've got so much going on.
Alex Goldofsky. We didn't mention Alex. I literally just popped about it. We've had so many remarkable. Aaron Young. We had him on there.
Oh, goodness. We're going to have to start re-interviewing people now.
I know. This is ridiculous. Look, I agree with you completely. I think that, mindset is obviously something that has been, since starting this and really kind of walking down this path, that has been one of the biggest changes for me, period. With that, surrounding yourself with 5 people and all that. Mindset shift has been the absolute largest thing. I mean, that's one of those things that's even, my wife will catch me occasionally when I say something, and she's like, well, I don't really know if that's what Robbie would say, regarding like if I'm being a little too negative. I don't know if that's what, somebody else in your circle says. So, I catch myself with that constantly. Right. So I agree with you completely. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, kind of some of those throwback things. I know that we didn't obviously give a case study on a particular deal, but I hope you guys can appreciate it. One last thing I want to talk about before any closing notes from Mr. Woods. The votes are in. The tallies are in. We've had quite a few people, way more than I anticipated, vote on the should I stay or should I go, the Robbie Vegas property. And the consensus is, I don't know what your decision is, but your consensus by a survey, everyone thinks the sell is the better way to go.
Well, there's two things with that. I did say, we'd have to rewind the show, but I believe I did say I'll do whatever they come back with from the results.
I will have to run it back. I don't know if you said literally that, but if you did, that's great because that's just fantastic. But yes, that was the survey. Survey results. Survey says.
All right,
so,
it'll be listed by this weekend.
Love it or list it, and list it is the.
By the way, if anybody's looking for a beautiful, almost 2,000 square foot, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 3-story, 2-car garage loft in downtown Las Vegas, I'll throw in a beautiful pool table, free of charge, for a full price ask that closes in the first 30 days.
Hey, brother, it's your show. You hawk what you want. It's all good.
It's probably a 42-inch. You can have all the furniture that's in it. I just won't have to go back to it. Also, by not having a home in Vegas, do you know how many thousands of dollars I will save by not going into casinos?
I don't, as a non-gambler, because I just would lose all of my things. So, quick story. I didn't sit down. I watched Robbie sit down at a table very briefly, put money on I don't even know what game he was playing. Might have been poker. Anyway, puts money down, wins a hand, puts money down, wins a hand, and then we walked away. So he's like, I've got money for the evening or whatever. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. Like, I'd never seen anyone stand up after 2 wins and just walk away. It was incredible. I would have been a money sink. It would have been awful. Oh,
because other times those 2 hands both get lost. And I'm like, well, dinner was now $1,000 instead of just $500. Let's go eat.
I
thought it was going to be free.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be. I thought it was on Vegas. No, dang it. Either way, Mr. Woods, any parting shots for the people? Obviously, we've covered overarching motifs and mindset and all kinds of things. 100 episodes.
My only parting shots are: if you guys have questions, need some support, send that stuff to Note MBA. Send it to both of us. Let us take a look at it. Let's see if it's something that we can help or guide or direct. Perfect example. I won't throw his name out yet because he didn't email me, but it actually falls into what happened with this show. I got an email from a friend of mine, an investor out of California that had a second in Illinois, and their attorney won't foreclose because he doesn't have a debt buyer's license. And he was like, hey, would you help me do this? And it was a $5,000 note. And I honestly just had to say, no, I'm sorry, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But it kind of validated 2 things for me. One, I'm not BSing about certain attorneys requiring a debt buyer's license. And I've heard through the grapevine there are some people saying you don't need one. That's probably perfect. You probably don't need one until you get caught. It's kind of like a driver's license when you're 14. So you
14?
Well, in Kansas, I had my learner's permit at 14. But I took my mom's car one day and got in some big trouble. Things kids do.
Kids do.
Yeah, but he'd reached out and said, hey, can you do this? And I don't know anybody else that works in seconds. So if anybody else that works in seconds that has a debt buyer's license in Illinois, let me know. I will throw you a deal. I won't even take anything out of it, but I don't know, maybe a $20 Amazon gift card. I want a book. Buy me a book. We'll call it even. If you lose money, tell me about it. I'll buy you a book afterwards. But I'm pretty sure the way this guy buys his notes, you're not going to lose anything.
Very nice.
That's just reinforcing. Reach out to us. We're running our own businesses too, so don't expect a response back in 15 minutes. Somehow Chase could do that on this technology stuff. I personally don't have the skill set, but reach out. Let us know how we can support. Put you in touch with somebody or the right people. That's what we like doing. It's fun.
I love it. If this is your first time here, where were you the last 99 episodes? We're so glad you're here, though. Head over to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, and be sure to subscribe. As always, you can find the show notes at notemba.com. Today's episode, especially important to go to notemba.com because we're going to have all the links to everything that we talked about, all the episodes, all the past shows, and all that kind of stuff if you want a quick jump into all that kind of stuff. Robbie tipping his glass to me of champagne. Thank you, sir, for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more. And as always, be sure to tell 5 other people you know about the Note MBA podcast. We'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, buddy. Couldn't have done it without you.